speaker. I don't know how I even start to introduce this really fantastic person. She is one of the most dynamic and smart and passionate people I have ever met. At just 27 years old, Becky is one of the co-chairs of the Patient Family Advisory Council at Dana-Farber, which is where we both met. She's smart and funny, and to sum her up, this girl gets shit done. I won't take up any more time introducing her. There's information in your program, because her personality will most certainly speak for itself. So with no further ado, please welcome Becky Sale.
Whoa, there's so many people here. So first and foremost, Tara, you almost made me cry before I was going to start speaking. And Mandy, I have 7 pages. And that's all I could think about while you were speaking, and you were so amazing, and you brought me to tears as well. Thank you so much, Tara, for asking me to be here tonight. I'm truly honored. My name is Becky Sale, as Tara mentioned. 27 years old. I love Sour Patch watermelons, the color purple, Kelly Clarkson, reality TV, and SoulCycle. I also have AA, not to be confused with Alcoholics Anonymous. It's aggressive angiomyxoma, a rare sarcoma with 250 reported cases in the world, ever. It's often flattering to hear you're one of a kind, but this isn't one of those times. If you take anything away from my talk tonight, I want it to be that there is an incredible amount of strength and vulnerability, and to never, ever settle, tenaciously hope. My cancer journey has completely changed my relationship with the V word, vulnerable. Being vulnerable is raw, courageous, and strong. It was so hard for me to realize that there was actually strength in weakness, and I had to be okay with losing control. At the beginning, I wouldn't ask others for help or lean on them. But for me, tonight is being vulnerable in all its glory. Until recently, I haven't really gone public with my disease. I have one of those cancers where people look at me and think, oh, she's completely normal and fully active. I'm an aliver. Except little do they know, I have a damn hot dog-shaped tumor in my deep pelvis. I've always prided myself on kicking life's ass and no one knowing what I have going on in the background. But after 5 years, I've realized that putting myself out there is not only good for me, but for others. If I can just give a little bit of hope to others, I'm making my mark. So here goes nothing. I was 22 and working in Tucson, Arizona, with no family close by. I remember sitting in the doctor's office when the colon rectal surgeon pulled up the scan. I didn't know much about anatomy then. She started to walk me through it. Here's your uterus, here's your bladder, and this is the mass. It was this huge thing wedged between all my organs that was at least twice the size of my uterus. The doctor couldn't hide the shock from her face, and I honestly don't even remember how I felt. It was too much to process. I'll never forget rushing to my car in the parking lot, calling my mom in hysterics, hyperventilating, face tingling from panic, snot galore, you name it. That wasn't a one-time occurrence. I had a blob inside me. They thought it was a large cyst, and they were talking about surgery. I had never had surgery. I was terrified. My family went into full-on attack mode, and I rushed home to Albany, New York for surgery on the beast. 32 staples later down my belly, they got out what they could. My mom will never forget the first thing I asked when I woke up from surgery: do I have all my organs? 10 days later, we got the pathology back. My surgeon, the chief of surgery at the hospital, told us that I had something called aggressive angiomyxoma, as I told you. Say that 10 times fast. What is that, we asked. He said it's a very rare tumor, and he kept making these faces. Let me just warn you, when a doctor makes those faces, it's not good. I don't know that I even uttered more than 2 words, which is a very rare occasion if you know me. I just cried. My parents started asking all the questions. Is it cancer? Well, the doctor said, that's a complicated question. What do you mean that's a complicated question? He then tried to explain that it was a very rare vascular and hormonal tumor, and it was something he had never seen before. This guy was the chief of surgery at the best hospital in Albany. He trained in Boston, and he had never seen it. He handed us printouts of doctors he recommended at Sloan Kettering in New York City and at Dana-Farber. He couldn't help us. He was sending us to people who he thought could. After this, it was a full-on family mobilization. Everyone had their assignments. Mom and Dad were on the phone nonstop, working to get me the best care. My sister had compiled an extensive binder of research, and my little brother was my #1 cheerleader, always making me laugh. We had to get the best doctors, and I knew my family would fly me to Guam if they had to. I immediately took to Google because I had to learn as much as I could. I had to know what the hell was growing inside my body for what they think was 7 to 10 years. And that was and is my personality. Attack, attack, attack. Thank you, universe, and Mom and Dad for my disposition. Shout out to the parental units at table 3 over there. My family and I traveled to Sloan Kettering and Dana-Farber, which is where I ended up for treatment. My doctors had seen 2 other patients with what I have. 2 more major surgeries later, and the beast kept coming back. So the doctors decided controlling it with medication was the best plan of action. I've been on hormonal suppressants to keep it in its cage for about 2 years now. The good thing about my soft tissue sarcoma I have is it will likely not metastasize. It just recurs locally. The closest thing to a cure would be to get every single cell, but that would mean wiping all my organs because it was touching everything. Bye-bye uterus, bladder, colon, rectum. So the indefinite plan is Lupron and Letrozole, the 2 medicines that decrease the estrogen levels in my body. The only solution the doctors have to keep Frank, yes, I've named him, I told you he's shaped like a hot dog, to keep Frank stable is these medicines. Here's the thing, I don't like this solution. Yes, it's great news. It is great news that my tumor is stable, but I want more. These medicines will make my life look a lot different than I pictured as a little girl, and have caused and will continue to cause nasty side effects. And like my daddy tells me as I still wait to meet my husband, never, ever settle. I recently had the epiphany of a lifetime at one of our patient family advisory council meetings at Dana-Farber. Myself, Tara, her mom Ann, Jack Whelan, and Sherry Berman, who are all here tonight, volunteer on this council. The doctor who leads genetic profiling for cancers came in one night to speak to us. Many of you may have heard of precision medicine, which is the new focus for cancer research, and Mandy talked about it. Instead of treating a group of cancers, they're pinpointing certain proteins or gene mutations and trying to target them and turn them on and off. It's truly incredible. I had my sarcoma sent out for genetic profiling a couple years ago, and my doctor told me they didn't find anything. This was because the mutations in my tumor are undiscovered. It's too rare. At the council meeting, I asked the doctor, how do you add new mutations to the list? He basically said that's the million-dollar question and something that's a huge challenge. We don't have the manpower to go back to all of the cancers in the database and make those connections on a consistent basis. Well, here's your inspiration and lesson in tenacity for the night. Like I said, I wasn't satisfied with these answers from my doctors. Yes, I was with the best, but it still wasn't good enough for me. As many cancer patients often do, I have another weird thing in my body, a lump in my tongue. I found it in 5th grade, and after seeing many specialists, they said it was just a benign vascular malformation. Tough concept for a 5th grader. They said it would get bigger as I grew, and hormone surges could affect it. Hormones? My tumor's ER and PR positive. To this day, I still think there's a connection to Frank. So we shall see about that. So at the end of last year, my tongue was becoming too much to take. It caused terrible TMJ and was affecting my speech. I had seen the head of interventional radiology at Boston Children's Hospital 2 years prior, and he said, come back if it gets to the point where you want to take care of it. Well, it was time. I went to see this world-renowned doctor, and he told me they were going to sclerose it. Basically inject it with these sclerosing agents and chemotherapy antibiotics that would cause the blood vessels to clot. He said it would swell to 2 to 3 times the size, and I would be in the hospital for 1 to 10 days, depending on how my airway did. And then it would ultimately shrink the lump. Later that week, I was emailing with one of my friends who also has AA. I found her through the Facebook group I'm a part of, with 40 women from around the world with my disease. For any Facebook doubters out there, this group has been one of my lifelines, and I've learned more from this than I could have ever imagined. So I remembered my friend was operated on at Boston Children's Hospital. She found her tumor in college, and that's when she went there. I asked her again who her doctor was. Well, guess what? He was the general surgeon and one of the 3 doctors that co-chaired the Vascular Anomalies Center. His colleague was about to inject my tongue. Too coincidental. I picked up the phone the next day to get an appointment with this surgeon. I said some malarkey like, well, I just want to see what he has to say about the plan with my tongue. Really, I wanted to pick his brain. So Dr. Miracle walks in, and I give him the quick overview of my tongue, and he basically says, sounds good, but I'm not really the expert there. My colleague you already met with is. Then I said, well, I also have aggressive angiomyxoma, and you operated on my friend 7 years ago. As I kept talking, it all started coming back to him. He remembered her. This brilliant man was immediately so enthralled and interested. I found the guy. He said, so let me get this straight. You found me because you found another woman on social media who has the rare tumor you have that I operated on 7 years ago. I said, yep, Dr. Miracle. He then said, well, I can get my scientists to research this and hopefully pinpoint the gene mutation that causes it. I almost peed my pants. I still can't believe he said it just like that. Never in my lifetime did I think I would hear those words. Because of my persistence and the fact that I refused to settle, I now have his scientists researching my sarcoma. And with what I told you about the doctor that spoke at Dana-Farber, you all know how incredible that is. And guess what? He works off donor money. I don't know where this research will go or if anything will be discovered in my lifetime, but it gives me hope for myself and for all the other cancer patients out there. In case you were wondering, I had the tongue surgery and I was only in the hospital 1 night. My parents took care of me well. It was very successful. Doesn't my speech sound great? I want to leave you tonight with an excerpt from my favorite poem that hangs in my cube at work and I read when I need inspiration. A yoga teacher once read it, and each word is so incredibly powerful. It's called Promise Yourself. Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind, to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet, to make all your friends feel that there is something in them, to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true, to give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others, to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, and too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble, to think well of yourself and to proclaim this fact to the world, not in loud words, but in great deeds, to live in faith that the whole world is on your side, so long as you are true to the best that is in you. Thank you all so much for being here tonight and for holding my hand as I go public. I had an entire section in this speech about Tara, and we had to shorten it, and of course she was the one who said to take it out. But Tara, you are truly amazing and one of the greatest inspirations in my life, and I'm so lucky to know you.